What are the main factors that causes business to either not sell at all or sell for a lot less than they thought? This is a great question. And I've actually just spent the last month writing a new product just on this. So looking at people looking to sell their business and what can you be doing in that kind of 3 years leading up to actually selling to make sure you get A, the best value you can possibly get for your business, B, make it as attractive to buyers as possible, and C, make the actual sale process as easy and smooth as you can, because there is a lot you can do in a business to make, when you go to sell it, a lot more valuable, not just in terms of money, but in terms of peace of mind with the whole process and having lots of options because your business is really attractive, so lots of people are interested in buying it. There's a lot you can do, and there are a lot of factors that can influence it. So if we just take a step back, what are the main factors that cause a business to either not sell or sell for a lot less than they thought, was the question. And there are a couple of really key things. One of the most common I have seen, and people do talk about it, but in my experience, people underestimate it significantly, and they underestimate how big an issue it is, and they underestimate how much impact it will have on the ability to sell their business and the price they'll get for it. And that is owner dependency. It's probably not something new you've heard about, but it is really important. And I would say in my career, working for many different clients, buying and selling businesses, and then working as a CFO in businesses where we're buying and selling businesses a lot, I've never seen somebody accurately estimate how much that business relies on them. 100% of the time, people underestimate. And it's not because anyone's being malicious or trying to misrepresent the situation. It's because when you own a business, and most of these people have owned it for a long time, so much of the business becomes them, and they are the business. And you hear people say, oh, well, if you went away on holiday, would the business still run without you? Or do you have management in place that can do things for you? Or, you know, I've heard lots of people say, oh, I've hired a GM and they run the business and I can go on holiday and everything's fine. But they just really underestimate how much you as an owner, if things go really wrong, it doesn't matter if you've got a GM in place, people come to you. If people want to know, why did we make this decision 5 years ago? People come to you. You've got that history in your head. Something goes wrong with a key customer, people come to you. You've got those key relationships because you built them 10 years ago or whatever it is. And one of the massive ones that people underestimate is a business owner cares about their business more than an employee ever would. And that's just the reality. That's the way it is. So someone who owns a business is, hopefully not always, but you know, up at night at 2 a.m. thinking, oh, I noticed my competitors doing that. How can I strategically get ahead? Or I read an article about this trend happening overseas. How could I better position my business to take advantage of that? There's just so much thinking that goes on by a business owner that an employee doesn't necessarily do. There's so much history in that owner's head as to why they made certain decisions, why they're going certain ways. There's so much relationship, rapport that they've built with their suppliers, their customers, their team over the years. So that takes a lot of time to build a team that truly, and a business that truly doesn't have you in it. And the question I ask is not, if you go on holiday, will the business still run and operate just as well without you in there? I ask, if you're gone for 3 months, if you're gone for 6 months and totally uncontactable, doesn't matter what happens, someone cannot get in touch with you for 6 months, how would your business perform? Because a 6-month period is long enough for things to go wrong. Key customers get annoyed, a historic event comes up and think, what the heck happened here? Things happen in the industry, a competitor changes something. Do we adapt? What do we do? Yeah, you need a long enough period to have a whole range of different scenarios come up and know that the business will cope without you. Now, how many businesses are at that stage? Not many. So also I don't want this to scare you and think, oh, crikey, to get there sounds such a massive daunting task. I'm never going to be able to sell my business. Not true, and that is not the purpose of this topic. It is more that just to start being aware of that, and the more you can do to help upskill your team, to help have a business that can truly run without you, the easier it will be to sell and the higher valuation you get. So I won't get into the details of it, but when you come to valuing a business, the more dependent it is on the owner, the less the valuation will be. Because when you value a business, you are looking at they call it the future maintainable earnings. So what are the earnings that the buyer is going to expect to get in the future, and that's what they're going to be prepared to pay based on. So if you are buying a business that suddenly this person exits, and either the profitability of the business will be impacted by that, or the work you will be required to do or pay others to do to get the business back to that level, the more you will bring that into the valuation and how much you're prepared to pay. And it can impact who will also want to buy you. A lot of people buying a business want a business that they can be involved in. They're quite happy to have a business that they have to proactively manage. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just when they're quantifying what they're prepared to pay for you, that will be a factor in their calculations. So valuation people can say it's kind of an A plus B equals C, or A times B equals C. But actually there's a lot more nuances in that, and there's a lot more factors that people will have gut feels as to things, and that will pull the price they're prepared to pay up or down depending. So a key reason people either don't sell their business or they sell it for less is because they haven't resolved that, or on the journey to resolving that. And as I said, you're not aiming for perfection here, it's a broad spectrum. But the more you can move towards the business being really profitable and growing and doing really well without it just being dependent on you, the better. Particularly if you're wanting to exit. If you're going to sell and you're gone and the new person has to pick it up entirely, then they will really factor that in. The other reasons why the biggest one I've seen as to why people don't sell, or it's a lot less than they expect, is people don't factor in, it's linked to the first point, but people don't factor in their own costs. So I've had a lot of people come, particularly back at my days working in chartered accounting firms and having a lot of clients buying and selling businesses, and they'll say, oh, my business does 300,000 profit a year. I know businesses might sell for a 2 to 3 multiple, so therefore I think it's worth 600k to 900k. So if I lost anybody there, sorry. A very, very quick way to value your business is profitability times a multiple. So just keeping it very basic here, say your profitability is determined to be 300k, your multiple might be 2 or 3, so therefore 300k times 2, 600k, 300k times 3, 900k. So you might think, oh, my business is worth in that 6 to 900k range. However, when you look at the financials and go down and analyze truly the profitability of that business, so often I see the salary that they've put in for themselves is based on whatever their accountant said was the right number for tax, based on a nominal amount. It could be based on actually what they need to live on, but it does not truly reflect the skills, the value, the expertise, the time that they put into the business. So the best way to do it is to say, if I hired somebody in a fair market to do the work that I do in the business for my skill set, my expertise, the amount of time I put in, the responsibilities that I have, what would I need to pay somebody? And often when you're talking about an owner-operated business, that person is effectively the GM. They're managing everything. They're the go-to person for everything. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to say, you know, your salary is 250k for the sake of this example. So actually your profit's not 300, it's 50. And 50,000 profit with a multiple of 2 to 3 is an entirely different valuation. So really understanding your numbers and trying to create a business that is profitable on its own, fair market costs for everything, all the costs factored in, all your time factored in, and still create a really good profit and return. That is the way to make your valuable business, because if you think of it as well from a buyer's perspective, they're investing cash into that business and they want a return. So as I said, some people might want to buy a business that needs their time in it, but they need to be compensated fairly for their time, and then separately enough profit then left over after they're fairly remunerated for their time, expertise, skills. There needs to be enough profit left over for that to effectively be their return on the amount they're being asked to invest in the business. So if, when you're looking at the financials of the business, you think about, okay, put on my employee, contractor, owner hat, sorry, not owner, operator, put on my operator, employee, contractor hat, and what do I think is a fair market rate pay? I'm an accountant, not a words person. A fair market pay for that time, expertise, and responsibility. And then you need to, so it needs to be able to afford to pay you that, because otherwise you could just go to the market and get a job that pays you for your skills and expertise and time. So the business needs to be able to afford to pay you for that. And then it needs to have enough left over for that profit to then be enough to justify the price, the investment that you are making in the business. So one is return on investment. So you've got your investor, shareholder hat on, you're investing this much, you need X return. The other, take the investor, shareholder hat off and put on your operator, employee, contractor hat, and you need to be able to get enough to pay you to do that. So that's a very long-winded answer. Talk about the stuff for ages, but just two of the key factors while businesses either don't sell or they sell for a whole lot less than people anticipate. How much the owner is, the business is actually dependent on the owner, and does the profitability of the company truly stack up for somebody to invest that much into your business to buy it, and that much of their time and skills and expertise to get remunerated fairly for that. I got the word right that time, remunerated. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have any questions, comments, or people have had different experiences, chuck them below in the comments, and happy to answer any other questions that you have. Thank you.